Greetings, esteemed colleagues. Thanks to each of you for agreeing to serve on this dissertation committee and joining me on my doctoral journey. Today, I will present my proposal defense for my dissertation entitled Beyond Black Skin, White Masks, Black Actors, Social Cognition, and Meaning Making on the U.S. Shakespearean Stage. The problem of practice this study investigates is the expectation within predominantly white or legacy white classical theater institutions in the United States that Black actors sublimate their racial identity and diminish their cultural expressions when performing Shakespeare in colorblind or white dominant productions. By purporting to disregard race altogether, colorblind casting has allowed institutions, through interest convergence, to appear racially inclusive while preserving Eurocentric aesthetic hierarchies. This reinforces whiteness as the unmarked norm of neutral or classical performance, compelling Black actors to disassociate from aspects of themselves in order to be deemed legitimate. Within classical theater institutions producing the Western Eurocentric canon, whiteness governs both access to opportunity and the aesthetic standards by which performance quality is judged. The erasure inherent in colorblind casting protects these standards, operating as a possessive investment in whiteness as property. Historical and contemporary evidence demonstrates that Black actors are routinely perceived as misaligned with Shakespearean worlds, even when they formally trained within elite institutions. As a result, Black actors encounter training pedagogies and production environments that ignore, neutralize, or dismiss Blackness altogether, undermining their artistic agency and contributing to feelings of inadequacy relative to the expectations they are structurally prevented from meeting.
At Juilliard, what was the objective of their training?
Definitely a perfect white actress. What it looks like, it's technical training in order to deal with the classics, in order to deal with the Strindbergs and the O'Neills and the Chekhovs and the Shakespeare and the Shakespeare and the Shakespeare and the Shakespeare and the Shakespeare.
Despite 2 centuries of Black participation in Shakespearean performance, spectator discomfort and institutional resistance persist. In the United States, studying Shakespeare is a secondary school educational imperative. With the adoption of the Common Core state standards, Shakespeare became required reading for most students in K-12 public schools. While maintaining a stronghold in the education realm, Shakespeare has broad appeal. Shakespeare, as a large-scale cross-sector industry, serves numerous stakeholders: the academy in the classroom, tourism, Stratford-upon-Avon, the Globe Theatre, Oregon Shakespeare Festival. Publishing, there are several editions, adaptations, and critical texts. Merchandising, the purchase of gifts, costumes, memorabilia. There's cultural diplomacy, international festivals, language learning, and of course, entertainment, film, TV, and theater. The broader entertainment and education fields could benefit from my research findings. However, the research is designed to serve the interest of Black actors by centering their experiences and making visible the systems they navigate. While archival and historical scholarship documents patterns of inclusion and exclusion, no comprehensive study has centered Black actors' lived experiences performing Shakespeare in the United States. The research is guided by 3 questions. 1. How, if at all, do Black actors experience a sense of self-efficacy and artistic agency when participating in productions of Shakespearean drama? 2. How, if at all, have environment and external reinforcements shaped the behaviors of Black actors working on or ceasing to work on Shakespeare's plays? And 3. What, if any, roles do community and resilience play in the self-efficacy of Black actors in Shakespeare's plays? My literature review provides a historical survey of Shakespearean production, first looking at the material performance conditions in Shakespeare's time, then pivoting to the United States with a particular focus on the racial dynamics that have shaped Shakespeare in the US, most specifically the historical exclusion of Blackness. I then examine casting practices along performance histories, tracing the genealogy of colorblind casting alongside key moments of Black artistic intervention, from Ira Aldridge and Paul Robeson to contemporary acts of resistance. The literature review maps the persistent racial hierarchies embedded within U.S. Shakespeare performance. The literature review concludes with an articulation of gaps in the literature and further explication of my conceptual framework. Drawing on Bandura's social cognitive theory, in which he identified that a strong belief in self is a key motivating factor for individuals when faced with a task or challenge, this higher degree of self-efficacy makes the individual more likely to accomplish the task. An individual's self-efficacy is not a fixed trait. It can be developed and influenced by cultural settings, experience, social modeling, and increased self-regulation. Critical race theory as a framework and movement examines how race and racism intersect with and inform culture, education, and all aspects of civic life and engagement. CRT posits that racism is not merely the product of individual bias or prejudice. Legal and educational systems have embedded it within their structures and policies. Two of the foremost tenets of CRT are the permanence of racism and interest convergence. Racism is embedded in the institutions of training, production, and criticism that shape the U.S. Shakespeare industry. It is not aberrational. This study will be bound with critical race theory, both the psychological dimension of identity formation and the structural dimensions of racialized power can produce a framework that is both behaviorally informed and critically conscious. Because this research narrows down the target population to a specific racialized group, binding the framework with CRT directly addresses the issue of race and systemic inequity that are central to this problem of practice. In this study, Blackness serves as a mediating construct through which the relationship among environment, behavior, and self-efficacy are examined. Drawing on SCT, this research considers how Black actors interpret and respond to environmental cues, reinforcements, and social modeling within Shakespearean production contexts. However, this study posits that the environment is not a neutral space. Rather, it is a racialized labor structure organized around a possessive investment in whiteness and the legal legacy of whiteness as property. Through this tripartite lens of racialized identity, somatic positioning, and cultural practice, Blackness is operationalized as both a condition acted upon by institutional norms and a site of resistance through which actors exercise agency. Using a narrative counter-storytelling approach rooted in CRT and aligned with SCT's emphasis on modeling and agency, data will be collected through semi-structured interviews, which will allow participants to reflect on their lived experiences. Each interview is anticipated to last 60 to 75 minutes. Questions are designed to address key concepts of self-efficacy, environmental motivators, such as the impact and influence of race and culture in the workplace, and learning, training, and behavior models. The target population is professional Black actors who have performed in at least 7 live Shakespeare productions. The goal is 10 to 15 study participants or saturation. The study prioritizes ethical engagement through informed consent, confidentiality, and methodological rigor, including triangulation, audit trails, and member checking. Data analysis will continue throughout data collection. After cleaning and de-identifying the transcripts, I will use Atlas TI software as a coding and analysis tool. I will follow Brown and Clark's 6 phases of reflexive thematic analysis, immersion in the dataset, coding, theme construction, comparative analysis, further theme development and refinement, theme analysis, write the findings section, stating the themes, citing the evidence, and providing interpretation. Findings aim to inform inclusive casting and rehearsal practices while amplifying the voices of Black actors navigating systemic inequities in classical theater. This research ultimately seeks to contribute to a more just and equitable Shakespearean stage. Thank you so much for your time in watching this presentation. I look forward to your questions and feedback. And once again, I am immensely grateful for your participation on this committee. Have a great day.